What is up, guys? It is time for our Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice non-spoiler review. Edgar, what's up, man?
What's up, man? That sure is a long ass title right there.
It's a mouthful, really.
Yeah,
Oh, man. We've been waiting so long for this, haven't we?
3 years.
Oh, and it
Three
finally
years.
came. And you know what, guys? I'm just gonna tell you right now, I really liked it. I really did.
I
Okay. I'll tell you what I really thought of it at the end. But Edgar, what do you think
I
initially? What
I
do you think?
I enjoyed the hell out of this film.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was going in with kind of I had high expectations before, but then after the critics, everything that was going on, I grounded my expectations
Okay.
going into this film, and you know, I can't say I can't say that I was um I can't say that I was underwhelmed.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the hell out of this film. That's all I can really say.
Yeah. There's a couple things in there that I didn't like, but they're specific things. And since this is a non-spoiler review, you're gonna have to listen into our spoiler review, which is our
Later today or later tonight. We'll say later tonight
later
because I'm going to
tonight.
be putting this up tomorrow.
Oh yeah, we'll edit that out. No, yeah. So listen to our podcast episode. Uh, it's gonna be a spoiler review, kind of like a panel type thing, because we're gonna have a couple guests on the show. You'll recognize, you'll probably recognize both of them. We'll have Mason from Real Dude Reviews back on the show to talk about it, and we'll also have Sarah from typicalcinematics.com. And so, yeah, just listen in. It's going to be a fun time. And yeah, only if you've seen the video though, or the movie though, because it's going to be spoiler heavy. I can already, yeah,
We're going to go into depth like pretty.
we're pretty much going to
Yeah,
just
we're
tell
going to give
you the
away the
whole
entire
movie.
plot. So
Yeah.
I
Do
mean,
not listen tomorrow if you have not seen the movie yet. Don't
yeah,
listen at all until you see the movie, because I don't want to ruin it for you.
yeah.
And since we're saying that now, you can't blame us. And we'll also say spoiler alert at the beginning of the episode. Anyway, the way we're going to kind of structure this is by going through our list of broad pros and cons. I have my pros and cons listed out here. Edgar has his pros and cons listed out there. Who wants to start out?
You know what? Let's start out with the cons because let's get the bad stuff out of the way. I don't have a lot of them, so I'll just I'll start
Okay.
here. My number one con here was the editing in the film. It was a little weird. I didn't have a problem with it as much as most of the critics did. It didn't throw me out of the film. I felt like the transitions were a little weird from scene to scene, but I realized that they weren't just telling one story. They had to tell multiple stories in
Yeah.
order to kind of get the main story, pumping and get it going.
Yeah.
I felt as if the editing was just a little choppy in those scenes, but you can't just say, "Oh, this film sucks" because the editing was terrible. The editing was not terrible.
It was
a little.
In my opinion, they did as well as they could have with what they had to do.
Yeah, because it was a 3 hour film. They had to cut 30 minutes from it.
Yeah.
So obviously it's going to be a little choppy in some parts. They did a good job. If I had not known anything about the editing before, like if I had not read any of the critic reviews or anything,
You probably wouldn't have even noticed it.
I would not have even noticed
Yeah.
a single thing.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I did read them,
Mhm.
and they were a little jarring, but nonetheless, I didn't have a big problem with it.
Yeah.
Still noticeable, a very small amount.
Yeah.
Next, Lex Luthor. I liked most of what I saw. I just felt as if he was a little over the top, just a bit in some moments, and it didn't throw me out of film. I was just like, really? Like, why are you doing that, dude?
I mean, here's my issue with Lex Luthor, because I mean, that is kind of on my cons list too. I liked Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. I just didn't really understand his character. So,
Yeah.
I mean, once you see the movie, I feel like you'll understand what I'm saying here, but I'm just going to leave it at that. I didn't really understand his character that much.
Yeah. And then the last one is the writing in some parts of the film.
Yeah.
It's a little flat. A specific character, Henry Cavill, they don't, some of his lines just, it's not that he underperformed them. No, he did the best he could with what he was given. I just felt as if the writing in some parts, mainly his and some of the conversation between him and Lois, it was a little, the writing was a little off for me.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it wasn't enough to, throw me out of the film.
Yeah. I mean, I want to preface my cons by saying none of them really took me out of the film.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's fair to say.
You can get into your cons now. No.
Okay. Here's something that actually a lot of the cons that I have too are addressing what critics have already been saying about the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And here's one of them that I kind of noticed in the movie, and I understand where they're coming from a little bit. However, it didn't bother me that much. I feel like the film was kind of addressing the problems that people had with Man of Steel. There were a couple times in there where I was like, well, this is kind of answering this, and I didn't want to believe that they were making all of these like subtle differences or subtle like things just to like fix what was wrong. And you obviously can't see me doing the air quotes right now, but fix what was wrong with the past movie. I mean, we were talking about this earlier, but I mean, it's kind of a lose-lose situation in there, because if you kept what was quote unquote wrong with the first movie, then you have people saying, oh, this is still wrong. But if you change it, then you have people saying, oh, you changed it. Like, oh, so what are you going to do? So I don't really have a problem with that. It didn't take me out of the movie at all. I kind of like what you said about the writing and everything. I think the plot kind of, I don't know. The second half of the movie was kind of a mess to me. And I understand where people are coming from when they say, oh, it's overstuffed with like all this different stuff. I understand where they're coming from when they say that. I don't think it's true necessarily, but like I said, a lot of my cons are just kind of going along with what critics have been saying in the already. So I understand where they're coming from. Do I think it's 100% accurate? Really, the only other con that I have is kind of nitpicky. I think like the religious imagery in it and everything was kind of over the top. I think you were saying how Lex Luthor was kind of over the top. I thought kind of the religious, references or imagery and all that, I thought that was kind of over the top. I don't really think it, none of these really took me out of the movie. I'm being kind of nitpicky with my cons. And I know you are too, because you really like Superman and everything. So, I understand. I mean, I understand everything that people have been saying, but man, people really shit on this movie, and I don't know why.
Yeah, it does not deserve the score it has on Rotten Tomatoes at all.
I just don't get that. The first thing I told you after the movie was over was, how does that get a 20-something on Rotten Tomatoes? How?
Yeah.
It does not make any sense to me.
If anything represents what it should get, it's definitely all of the fan scores that it's getting on all these sites. Mm-hmm. But that's as far as I'm not going to give any of these critics, any more attention than they need, because I think they dropped the ball on this one. But anyway, get into. You have anything else you want to say on cons?
No.
Okay. So getting into the pros, I'm just gonna run through these. Batman, amazing.
Amazing.
Everything he's in, um, just 100%. I enjoyed the hell out of it. You want to chime in on that?
Um, yeah, I mean, just I don't want to give anything away here, but just the first hour of the movie is amazing,
Yeah.
and I feel like it's because of Batman.
Oh yeah.
And so
I actually enjoyed the Batman and Superman, you know, like not contradicting, but like different storylines that they were going through.
yeah,
I actually enjoyed that.
I really
But
liked it a lot.
yeah,
And just let me say this too: Ben Affleck as Batman,
yes,
incredible. It was so good.
perfect casting,
Yeah,
perfect casting. Whoever doubted him, you are not allowed to speak about any other casting in the history of films ever.
Edgar. I doubted him at first.
Well, typical cinematics is over. This is our last.
I doubted him for a month, maybe, and then I was like, you know what? I actually think this is a good idea. So
Yeah, but he was amazing. He delivered 100%.
definitely.
Going on with the cast, Henry Cavill did what he could. I personally think it was not as good as Man of Steel. I just feel they really threw him to the side script wise to open the doors for other characters, and I really don't like that because he's my favorite DC superhero, and I didn't appreciate that. But still,
Man, but
I
okay.
understood why.
Here's something that I don't really understand. Okay. If you just said Superman is your favorite DC hero, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right. Don't you just want someone better to play Superman? Like, or
Hell no.
no?
I think he's the perfect choice of what we have now to play Superman. I think he's better than anyone else could be right now. I'm not saying he's better. He's better than Brandon Routh. I'll say that right now. But
Yeah.
I'm not going to say he's better than Christopher Reeve. I'm not going to say that. I'm just saying he's better than any choice we could have now. I mean, I think he delivers.
Here's what
everything
I
he
think
can.
about Han Solo. All right, the upcoming Han Solo film. In my opinion, I want the right person to like play Han Solo in the new anthology film, and if it sucks, I'm boycotting the movie, and I'm gonna be upset probably for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Okay. You have the right to do that. But
Yeah.
for me, I've loved Superman since I was a kid.
Well, but here's the thing: like, if you like him, then that's completely disregards what I say about it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And you like him, so that's totally fine.
Yeah. I think he's the perfect Superman.
Okay.
In my opinion.
All right.
Moving on. Perfect Alfred, Jeremy Irons. Lois Lane, Amy Adams, great. I think we had a little too much of her in the film, but that's neither here nor there. We'll get that in the spoilers. Wonder Woman, little we had from her, still great.
Yeah, super awesome.
The fights look spectacular.
Yeah.
Visually, they were amazing, and I feel as if the Dawn of Justice part of this movie opens the doors so well for the rest of this universe.
Mm-hmm.
I am
the setup was great.
I'm so excited for what this universe is bringing, or is going to bring later on.
Absolutely. I'm stoked for what is upcoming in this cinematic universe. I think that the score of the film was amazing. Incredible. I mean, it really got you like hyped in the times you're supposed to get hyped. It got you like sad in the times you're supposed to get sad. It set the mood perfectly for all of the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I don't want to like start comparing things to Marvel or anything, because that's not what this is about. This is about, Batman versus Superman. But
this is DC. But yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead. I will gladly join you.
Okay, because you know what I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
I think unlike Marvel and their Avengers and everything, the score on there, I mean, it's just the Avengers score.
Forgettable.
Here, yeah, forgettable. All right, this has distinct different themes for each character, and I think it's so unique and like, I love it.
They said in Justice League that
Mhm.
every character will have their own theme, and when a certain group of characters are on screen together fighting or whatever,
It's gonna be
their scores will be intertwined with each other. So you'll have different scores throughout the entire film. I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, you go ahead and run through your pros.
I mean, I've pretty much mentioned mine. Let me, I'll run down the list again for you.
Yeah.
I think, actually, another thing I'd like to say is if you liked Man of Steel, forget everything we said. You're gonna love Batman vs Superman.
Yes.
I mean, that's that. But other than that, I loved the first hour of this movie. I mean, I liked all of it, but I loved the first hour. I loved the very beginning. I loved it.
Yes.
I loved the score in the movie. It was great. It set the tone for a lot of things. I loved Ben Affleck as Batman. Thought that was great.
And as Bruce Wayne.
And as Bruce Wayne, obviously. And another thing that I like, but except for like some parts, I really like the action scenes a lot. I like the fight scenes and everything. I mean, there's just, I'm being nitpicky here too, but there's one part that I didn't really like, but I'll get into that, in the podcast. So that's my pros. You've already heard our cons. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Edgar?
What would, like we like to do after all of our reviews, what would you score this film?
I think I'm going to give this movie a solid B.
A B? Okay.
Yeah, no plus, no minus. I really wanted to give it a plus, but after discussing it and everything, I think I landed on a B.
Okay. After watching the film, after, coming out of it, I couldn't get this film to an A. I'm going to settle for a B. I think it definitely earned this B. Definitely does not deserve what it has on all these different sites. So
Heck no.
Please, I urge you to go watch this film. Make up your mind for yourself. We went into this with critics just critic reviews hitting us left and right. We came out of it. We enjoyed it. So please go watch the film. Make up your own mind about it, and maybe tweet us what you thought. Tweet us, email us, whatever. Let us know what you thought of the film, and I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think also with the Bs we just gave it, I think it's important to note that in the future, these movies are gonna be even better. I mean,
yeah, they're gonna have a better, a better chance and a better job, or an easier job at creating new storylines, because they had to cram a lot of stuff in, and I felt it was a little hard. But going further down the road, they're gonna have an easier job, I feel like.
See, and that's now we're starting to go back into this, but I mean, when we were talking about, it's overcrowded or whatever, when they were talking about the setup, I mean, they did the setup well, though. It was a lot to take in, but they did it in such a great way. All right, we're done talking about it because we're going to talk about it in our podcast on Saturday anyway. So let's wrap it up. We both gave it a B. Definitely go out and see this movie. Follow us on Twitter at tcinematic. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Visit our blog, typicalcinematics.com. Shout out to Sarah holding it down out there. Listen to our podcast on Saturday. It's going to be a spoiler review for Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice. We're going to have Mason from Real Dude Reviews on the show. And we're going to have Sarah from typicalcinematics.com, our blogger. And obviously me and Edgar are going to be there too. So, thank you for listening, and we'll see you on Saturday.